I've worked as a quant in high frequency trading, $10 to $100 billion a day, just, the strategies that I was responsible for. $10 billion a day is roughly the GDP of France. I was earning big fat paychecks as well, but I felt that I was wasting my life. High frequency trading is all about exploiting market inefficiencies. I saw how much money we were making due to simple structural design flaws in existing markets. People in trading just want to make money so they can earn big bonuses, right? I'm Annanay, I'm founder and CEO of QFEX. I used to work in the quant finance sector before I realized a lot of financial markets infrastructure is broken, and now we're building the next 24/7 global stock exchange, which is going to revolutionize trading. We had two major funds. One was General Catalyst, one was Nexus Venture Partners, round close to 95 million valuation. We weren't making any revenues. We were pre-revenue, raised a 95 million valuation. The only point in raising venture money is if you can be massive, right? Like truly massive. Then a VC will find it very hard to say no. There's certainly a lot of people in the US, I feel a lot of them could be kind of pursuing an entrepreneurial path because their future is so set. And for me, it was really obvious to see, given my background, obviously I was born in India and then my friends came to the UK. They left behind a lot in India to kind of start over in the UK. I studied maths at university. I started thinking about what I wanted to do with my life towards the end of my time at Cambridge. We weren't very wealthy growing up, and job in quantitative finance, quant trading. It just paid a lot of money. I had an option to do a PhD as well, something more impactful, but the money was too good to pass up. And after I left Cambridge 2020, I worked at a Dutch high-frequency trading firm called Flow Traders for a year, and then I got headhunted to an American firm called Tower Research Capital, where I worked for almost 3 years. When you work as a trader, as a quant, first thing I would do when I get in, not even when I get in, when I wake up, I have my work laptop, I check how much money we've made. In quant, everything is data-driven, and you're not doing trading by talking to people, you're just looking at data and you're trading from data. People ask me for a real-world analogy. I often say it's like running a car dealership. Somebody runs a car dealership, you can sell your car to them, you can buy a car from them, and their job is basically to kind of have an inventory of cars ready to sell, and they buy cars at a slightly lower price and sell cars at a slightly higher price. And the reason quant finance is able to make so much money is because so much volume trades in the market. The S&P 500 future on CME, that's one future, one product, trades $500 billion a day. That's more than the GDP of any country. But I think there's a lot of cognitive dissonance amongst quants and traders that they've kind of convinced themselves because they're earning big fat paychecks, and I was earning big fat paychecks as well, that hey, we're making a lot of money, we must be doing something good for the world. High frequency trading is all about exploiting market inefficiencies, like futures that expire, for example. S&P futures expire every 3 months because that coincides with the time of the harvest for certain crops in the Midwest. There's no need for them to expire. If they expire, what happens is people have to sell the future, buy the next one, they pay transaction costs every time they trade, and they lose money, and high frequency traders make the other side of the money. No one in quant trading wakes up in the morning and they think, oh, how do I make the markets more efficient today? How do I lower cost of consumers every day? People in trading just want to make money so they can earn big bonuses. And I think Tower has really, really high quality of talent. So a lot of my colleagues were International Maths Olympiad medal winners. There's this entrance exam in India for the top technical universities called IIT. A lot of them were ranked in kind of the top 50 in India when they did this test. They're stuck in the same golden handcuffs. They're getting paid too much basically, and they don't want to leave. Quant finance has sequestered a lot of very talented people in an industry that basically adds no value to the world. And that was really the source of the guilt. I felt that I was wasting my life. Think carefully why you're doing it. Think about, honestly, is this what you want to be doing in 5-7 years' time? Almost nobody I spoke to said they would still be in the job in 5 years' time. A lot of them were 2-3 years and I'll go do something else. They're still there. So are they still there because they want to be there, or are they still there because they failed to reevaluate? Towards the end of my time at Tower, a bunch of things happened in life that kind of aligned, that made me think that maybe I should leave this and build a startup. FTX was a very profitable business. They were backed by Sequoia, very high valuation. I'm not going to defend SBF and say what he did a good thing or the end justifies the means. I think what he did was clearly wrong. He does deserve to be in prison. But I think on the innovation side, it's a very successful company. A lot of the products that they made was actually really good. I think another really interesting thing is that FTX did try to go down the path of US licensing and US regulation. FTX purchased an exchange in the US. Interestingly, I'd already had the idea to do this exchange, what is now QFEX, about 6 months before. I have a burning desire to improve the markets because I've worked on the other side of the markets as a quant in high frequency trading. And I thought, If the aim really is to make markets more efficient, why don't you just improve the nature of the market and improve the nature of the design so that high-frequency trading firms don't make all this money, which they're just extracting from investors, and the market just becomes fairer that way. Towards the end of 2024, early 2025, I kind of pitched this idea to my co-founder, one of my best friends. We've known each other for a very long time, I guess like since we were 18, pretty much. Josh worked at Citadel, but on the engineering side. He didn't know anything about the exchange side of things, right? He just called messages like, hey, I have this like crazy idea. I was like, this is so obviously like a better market design that there's no way it doesn't exist in 5 or 10 years time, right? And either the incumbents get their act together or we do it. He was like, yeah, like let's do it. He left his job at Citadel, which is one of the top hedge funds in the world. Job was going pretty well and I had a lot of money saved up. I wouldn't be under any financial pressure. Once that side of the equation was solved for and I had some decent money in the bank, then I thought, okay, it's time to do something that, I want to make my life's work. I left my job in February 2025. I was really getting to the point where I was thinking, hey, can anything really go wrong if I spend, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of my life, let's say, and things don't really work out. We applied for funding from Y Combinator. We applied, Josh called me and I'm like in Austria watching some opera show. He's like, oh, we got an interview, you have to come. I flew the same day back to London. They ask questions that really test whether you've got into the details of understanding where the problem lies and what the why now moment is. Like, why is now the right time to build this idea? PG explained this to us. They don't think about things like what's the probability of this idea succeeding. They just want to know the probability is bigger than 0. Even if it's 1%, but it's a huge idea and you're a good team, they'll fund you. I'm aware that the company we're doing right now, right, it's either going to make me like $50 million or 0. Because like exchange is like, it's not like a 10 mil ARR business. Like it'd never be a 10 mil ARR business. It's either 0 or huge. And they said, this is a huge idea and are these guys the right people to do it? The next day, we got the offer and then we're like, okay, and now that we have funding, we can probably build it. But building in fintech is always tough because you can't launch something and if it breaks, just say sorry to your customers, right? That's like a real breach of trust. The hardest day, it was during YC actually. We'd actually launched the exchange internally just to YC. We were kind of forced by our partners to launch early because they were like, you need to do this, otherwise you'll never get user feedback. Just do it right now. I'm very jet lagged. So I woke up at 3 a.m. My co-founder's there and he's like, oh man, the exchange is blown up. We looked at everyone's result. Like somebody was plus $1 million, somebody was minus $1 million. You're like, oh man, we only gave them like $100 to play with. Like, how has this happened? So we had to basically spend all day reconstructing what had happened, figuring out how much money everyone owed and how much they didn't owe, reimbursing some people. That was the first time we took a loss as a company. We had to say, oh, we're sorry. It says that you're minus $100, but we don't think this is right. We'll just give you $100. Luckily, it was still small scale. It wasn't like a big loss for us. The issue was it really hit home how difficult it is to build a 24/7 perfect, fully available system that keeps track of. If you run something 24/7, like anything can go wrong anytime, right? Lightning bolt can happen, fire in the data center, whatever. We didn't sleep properly for days after that because we were like, we don't want this to happen in life, right? Because if we do, it's game over for us in exchange. I think the reason the partners made us do it is to basically make us grow up and realize the gravity of the situation we were in. That was a really tough time. Both the best days of our life and the worst days of our life, we were working all the time, like 100 hours a week, very focused, very frenetic. There's some misconceptions maybe about how fundraising happens in Silicon Valley. It's very quick. If the check size is less than 500K, typically it's a 30-minute meeting and you get the decision like on the call or just after. If it's kind of a bigger check, then we had a first meeting and a second meeting in person, which was both for 30 minutes, let's say roughly. And day one, we had a bunch of angels. We got some money. And then we stopped taking angel money. Yeah, then it was about the bigger funds. So we had 2 major funds. One was General Catalyst, one was Nexus Venture Partners, round close to 95 million valuation. We weren't making any revenues. We were pre-revenue. The only point in raising venture money is if you can be massive. You have to be at like a huge scale. Then a VC will find it very hard to say no. And I think you guys are based in San Francisco. Was very interesting for me, kind of being in London for a while. Now we're in New York. I think London, New York, people are very concerned with how much money someone has, how much money they make, how much money they have in their bank account, how much money they're going to make in the future. Everything's about money. San Francisco, people really, I think, don't talk about that as much or don't think about it as much. They're much more concerned with, impact, that kind of thing. And it was really useful to live in San Francisco for like 4 months. HFT strategies don't lose money, right? Like you can't even lose money doing HFT. If you lose money on a particular day, you get like an email from your boss, like what the hell happened? The Silicon Valley approach is like, let's try and make something that's going to make like $1 billion in 5 years time, but don't even think about the money, right? It's like not even on the scale, which is like a new way of thinking. That was a nice part of being in San Francisco. What we wanted to do is make sure everyone trades on the same equal playing field, level terms. If you want to buy Tesla trades on NASDAQ exchange, but the interface is through Robinhood, and there's another intermediary, which is called a clearinghouse, which basically does the risk management and settlement, right? It's that intermediation, 3 separate companies involved in doing one trade that should really just be done by one company that's as most efficient as possible. That's really what we're offering. On QFEX, our pricing is completely transparent, right? So we don't make money from this like profit share agreement. We just make money from fees. Our fees are as low as possible. We actually give a lot of our fees back to users if you kind of refer your friends or whatever. It's similar to Stripe, if you want like a direct comparison. Stripe really reduced the frictions when it comes to doing payments. We're reducing the frictions when it comes to trading. And so much money trades through financial markets nowadays in ways that people don't even understand, that even if you make small improvements, they have massive downstream impact. I think the best founders always have that, that the company they're working on is their life's work, right? Like they want it to be their legacy. It's more than just money for them. And I was ready to reach that stage where I was no longer just thinking about the money. There's an element of me that's doing the current company for the money, but there's also an element of, we want to go out there and be the change in the world that we want to see. And here's a very obvious change that I see now that I think not a lot of other people can work on. Is what you want to tell your kids that you spent your life doing? Do you think this job will still be around in 5-7 years time? If you're still a young person, you should be optimizing for learning and optimizing for growth, not optimizing for how much money you're making right now.